What if I told you there's a hidden principle connecting, well, pretty much everything? The evolution of life, the future of AI, even the way your own mind works. Today, we're diving into this universal idea that there's a universal drive toward complexity and function, and it's woven right into the fabric of reality. Let's start decoding that hidden language. Our whole understanding of the universe has always been tied to the tools we have. For centuries, if we couldn't measure something, we just couldn't see it. It was invisible. But when we develop new ways to handle really complex information, it's not just a minor upgrade. It's like unlocking a brand new sense. Suddenly, we start seeing these layers of reality that were there the whole time, completely hidden in plain sight. And look, this isn't some far-out abstract idea. This hidden reality, it actually starts somewhere incredibly personal, somewhere you would never, ever think to look. What if a massive biological mystery has been hiding this whole time inside your own mouth? Okay, so our story kicks off with the discovery that's, frankly, pretty shocking. Scientists were just looking at the everyday microbes that live in and on us, and they found something that just throws a wrench in our whole understanding of life at that tiny scale. Get this, they're called innocuous, and the scale of these things is just mind-boggling. You see, bacteria are always swapping these little pieces of DNA called plasmids. But innocuous, they're absolute behemoths. We're talking about massive, sprawling genetic structures, up to 20 times bigger than anything we thought was possible, just hanging out inside common bacteria in our mouths. It's like we thought these creatures could only read short pamphlets, and then we found out they've been hiding a secret, multi-volume encyclopedia. And here's the real kicker. This isn't some super rare thing. Researchers think that a staggering 74% of all humans could be carrying these nodules. So this isn't an anomaly at all. It's an incredibly common, yet totally hidden, part of our biology. A secret language shared by most of us. Which of course leads to the big question, right? If maybe 3 out of every 4 people have these gigantic things in their mouths, how on earth did we miss them for so long? Well, the answer isn't in biology. It's in technology. We just didn't have the right tools to see them. And this whole discovery, it just perfectly nails a core idea here. What we see as reality is totally limited by the tools we're using. To see something as huge and complex as inoculi, we needed a completely new, revolutionary way of processing information. Okay, to really get the shift, let's use an analogy. Imagine you're trying to map a huge mountain. The old way of doing things was like sending one climber up a trail just to get the temperature. Then they'd have to come all the way back down before going up a different trail to check the wind. It was painfully slow. But new AI tools like Google's JAX are a total game changer. Using JAX is like sending an entire scientific crew up the mountain once, loaded with every sensor you can imagine. They gather all the data, how everything affects everything else in one single super efficient trip. That massive leap in handling complexity is what finally let us see the anomalies. So you see, discoveries like Innoculus, made possible by tools like JAX, they aren't just random oddities. They're like breadcrumbs. And they're leading us toward a really grand, unifying idea, a potential new law of the universe that's all about how complex things evolve. Now, most of us have heard of entropy, right? It's that famous second law of thermodynamics. It basically says things fall apart. They tend toward disorder. A hot coffee gets cold, a clean room gets messy. But what if there's another force working alongside it? That's the idea behind the law of increasing functional information, or LIFI for short. It suggests that complex systems, from stars and minerals to life itself, also have this built-in tendency to become more functional, more patterned, and more complex over time. It's like a second arrow of time, one that points toward organization, not just chaos. But what is functional information, really? Well, think of it as a measure of useful complexity. A random pile of sand, it's disorganized, it has very low functional information. But a microchip, it's incredibly rare and it's built to do something very specific. That chip has an insane amount of functional information. LiFi basically says the universe likes to build things that are more like the microchip than the sandpile. Okay, so let's take this huge cosmic law and bring it right back down to Earth. Actually, right inside our own heads. Because if this drive toward more function is really universal, then it should absolutely apply to the most complex system we know of, the human brain. You can actually think about our own minds on this spectrum of functional information. On one end, you've got what's called the null point. That's a really tragic state where the brain's ability to process and articulate information starts to break down. But on the other end, the absolute peak, you have the extreme warden. This is a state of incredible cognitive function where someone can master symbols and build these really stable mental models or scaffolds to organize and connect huge amounts of knowledge. And to really paint a picture of this extreme Warden state, there's this great concept called Tom Hennigan's Big Thumb Intelligence. It's a way to describe a system that has such masterful skill and problem solving that it just seems to have this intuitive feel for a complex world, kind of like the AI agent you see here just mastering Pokemon. It's not just following a script, it's building a deep, functional understanding and constantly getting better. That's a system increasing its own functional information in real time. Okay, so if this drive toward function is happening all around us and inside of us, how do we get in on the action? How do we consciously participate and, upgrade our own mental software to handle complexity better? And that's where this incredible idea of prismatic intelligence comes into play. Instead of seeing a tough problem as just one stubborn point of light, this mindset uses the problem itself as a prism. It breaks the challenge down into a full spectrum of all its different parts, revealing all these different paths toward a solution. It's all about turning friction into an engine for progress. You can see this idea perfectly in the purple team mindset, which comes from the world of cybersecurity. So normally you have two teams working against each other. The red team is on offense. They're the good guy hackers trying to break the system. And the blue team is on defense. They're building the walls and fixing the weak spots. But a purple team does something different. They collaborate radically. The red team finds a weakness and immediately tells the blue team. The blue team patches it and then tells the red team exactly how they did it so they can try to break it again. And what this does is it creates this profound shift in how you see things. The goal isn't for one side to win anymore. The goal is to take the friction from that natural conflict and turn it into the very engine that improves the whole system, constantly in together. You're literally turning friction into fuel. So it all comes full circle, right? From the secret genetic codes hiding in our mouths to the way our own minds are structured, there seems to be this universal pull toward creating systems that are more functional, more complex, more organized. And that leaves us with one last powerful question. If that's the direction the universe is heading, what part are you going to play? What will you build?